Hi, everyone. So exciting to be the host for today's Aspire to Achieve More at Hong Kong event. This morning, we have some really amazing speakers joining us from Hong Kong and both Silicon Valley to explore opportunity in Asia, leading innovation and technology hub. Hong Kong now is home for over 10 unicorns. We have some really amazing speakers joining us today. This event is hosted by many amazing supporters and organization, but particularly is hosted by InvestHK and Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in San Francisco and supported by Cyberport. Thank you for all the organization for supporting us. Today we have a speaker from Hanson Robotics, from Alibaba, Securely, from Power Arena. But I'm going to start the event by inviting Jacko Zhang. So Jacko is the director of Hong Kong Economics and Trade Office, San Francisco. Jacko, I'm going to have you to give us an opening remark.
Thank you, Edith. I must say that among the many people I have met in the US in the past year who have connections with Hong Kong, Edith is certainly one of the most accomplished, well-connected entrepreneur and investor in the innovation and technology industry, who is also a passionate advocate for Hong Kong's talents and companies. We are lucky indeed to have her with us today to lead this conversation with some key players in the INT sectors in Hong Kong, which we are all looking forward to. As the director of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in San Francisco, I always try to reach out to the companies and professionals, especially in Silicon Valley and other places with innovative enterprises who may be interested in Hong Kong. Despite recent challenges, Hong Kong is committed to business openness and will continue to take advantage of the one country, two systems. Hong Kong is a fantastic place to do business, a springboard to the fast markets of mainland China and the rest of Asia, and a great place to live. For professionals in the innovation economy, there are tremendous opportunities for career advancement. As you will find out from the inspiring speakers in our panel today, tech companies in Hong Kong are vibrant, growing, and hiring. Opportunities abound, whether you want to take your career to the next level, to gain market experience in Asia, or to jump out and start your own thing. Our panel of speakers today will tell you all about their experience in this fast-growing and exciting sector. Hong Kong is doing its utmost to nurture and attract world-class talents in innovation as well as research and development. A new global STEM professorship scheme worth $255 million has been launched to attract the world's best scientists to bolster Hong Kong's R&D strengths. Tax deduction of up to 300% for qualifying R&D expenditures encourage enterprises to carry out R&D in Hong Kong. Infrastructure such as the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park and Cyberport are examples of the government's commitment to working with the private sector to promote technology development. You will hear from Cyberport today on the great work they're doing and the various support in place to attract talents and nurture companies in the digital sector. I hope you will enjoy the all-star panel today. Thank you once again for joining us. I look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you, Jacko. Next, I'd love to welcome Mr. Stephen Phillips, the Director General of Investment Promotion of Invest Hong Kong, to give us opening remarks.
Well, Edith and Jacko, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I would like to add my very warm welcome to you all joining us today. First of all, I would like to thank our co-organizer, the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in San Francisco, for their great support, as well as Hong Kong Cyberport, our long-term partner, joining us to provide an update on the INT landscape in Hong Kong. And of course, thank you to all of our panelists. I lead a team at Invest Hong Kong, a department of the Hong Kong SAR government that helps international companies and entrepreneurs set up and grow here in Hong Kong. And of course, high quality talent is one of their biggest and most important needs. This is why Invest Hong Kong has been tasked with talent attraction by our Chief Executive, Mrs. Carrie Lam. As a 20-something professional, I arrived in Hong Kong some 32 years ago, and I can never talk enough enthusiastically about how amazing this city is and the fantastic opportunities I have had as a result of moving here. But I guess I need to be brief today. I'm sure it goes without saying, Hong Kong is a leading international city and a vibrant financial and innovation hub. We have over 9,000 mainland and overseas companies who have chosen to set up their business here in Hong Kong. What's more, Hong Kong boasts one of the top startup ecosystems in the world. Our location right at the very heart of Asia allows businesses to connect and develop their business in other key Asian markets, while at the same time enjoying access to the vast opportunities offered across the whole of mainland China, including in particular the affluent Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. Innovation and technology is a top priority of the Hong Kong SAR government. In the past 4 years, some $14 billion has been committed to a wide range of I&T related programs. These include facility development, Jacko mentioned the Science Park and Cyberport, talent nurturing and retention, R&D funding, support for startups, venture capital, and facilitating measures such as the Technology Talent Admission Scheme. To maintain the continuous development of Hong Kong as a leading innovation and technology hub, there really is high demand for I&T talent with various expertise, such as in AI, cybersecurity, and life sciences. I can confidently say there are great career opportunities here in Hong Kong for talent like you. Work aside, Hong Kong is also one of the best cities to live anywhere on this planet. It really has this unique East-West culture and fantastic combination of cosmopolitan lifestyle, but with stunning mountains, country parks, and the ocean that you could hardly find anywhere else. I'm sure our panelists will share more with you later on their own adventures and experiences right here in Hong Kong. I understand that moving across the Pacific Ocean isn't an easy decision, but from my own experience, I have never regretted for one moment that I decided to come to Hong Kong. The personal satisfaction and fulfillment it has given me really is in great abundance. I hope today's discussion inspires you to consider the opportunities offered by Hong Kong. If you are tempted, my colleagues in San Francisco and the dedicated talent attraction team at Invest Hong Kong are ready to provide you with the advice and support you would need. So thank you for joining us, and may I wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Eric Chen. Eric is the Chief Public Mission Officer for Hong Kong Cyberport, and he's going to give us a presentation on driving the tech entrepreneurship and career opportunities by various funding schemes and programs. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Yidi, for the introductions. Thank you for having me here. I'm Eric Chen, the Chief Public Mission Officer of Hong Kong Cyberport. I would like to take the next 10 minutes or so to give you an update on the Digital Technology Hub of Hong Kong Cyberport and some of the very attractive, entrepreneurship and talent cultivation programs that we have. Right. Well, basically, Cyberport is one of the key technology parks in Hong Kong where we aspire to be the digital tech hub to create a key economic driver for Hong Kong. And you can see on the left-hand side that some of the key focus work that we do, obviously talent cultivations and attracting talents to Hong Kong is one of our key focus. And apart from that, we do a lot of industry development, including fintech, smart living, digital entertainment, e-sport, etc. And a very important thing that we support startups development and entrepreneurship in Hong Kong is we help many of the startups to connect to the traditional industry, so that we see solution adoptions and investments and integrations with the traditional economy. This is actually summarized, some of the very core program that we provide from Cyberport, and you can see that this is actually a very holistic and comprehensive entrepreneurship and talent cultivation program that we have. First of all, we are glad to share that 5 of the unicorns from Hong Kong actually come out from the Cyberport community. On the top right-hand side, some of them, our latest unicorn is actually Animoca, which is a digital entertainment company using NFT, which is a very hot topic. And apart from that, we have a smart living, unicorns. GoGo X basically is a advanced version of the Uber and Klook travel site, and then fintech with WeLab and TNG. And whoever actually got into our program, they get up to 1.1 Hong Kong dollars, 1.1 million Hong Kong dollars funding support from us, as well as a free office in our incubation center. And then obviously this is really the very basic support that we provide. But then we also have a lot of partnership network, and you can see on the right hand side that we have the enterprise network, the investor network, the technology network, and the professors network. Basically is a partnership network to help scale up companies on the growth path. Okay, Cyberport is very international. It's just like Hong Kong, and we want to keep it that way. And around 30% of our community companies actually come from out of Hong Kong, and you can see there's a good mix of people. And we always believe that we need to attract all the talents over the world to Hong Kong to make Hong Kong an innovative technology hub. Right. This is basically, I'll just go through it quickly. The Cyberport Creative Micro Fund is a pre-incubation fund that we only need a great idea, right? And then you can actually start applying into our pre-incubation program. Basically, this is a program to help us develop a pipeline, for our incubation program. And we work with universities and many other regions to bring talent, out of Hong Kong also to Hong Kong. Right. So this is the core program, the Cyberport Incubation Program, where we give $500,000 financial assistance as well as a free office in our incubation center. And obviously, we have actually made that funding so simple now that it used to be a reimbursement type of program. Now is a grant that we just give the money, as long as the startup can prove to us that they actually follow the business plan to achieve certain key milestones, and make it very simple, for people, and also help the cash flow for the startup. And then on the growth journey, we have fundings like accelerator support that we give fundings, support to startups to join any renowned global accelerator in the world, including 500 startups and others. And then we also have a funding to help startups, do market development, especially joining delegations that we helped put together, like to San Francisco and other places. Okay, and this is very important. And then I truly believe that the best way for us to help a startup is to help them find businesses. Hence, we have developed an extensive corporate network, which we call it Cyberport Enterprise Network, where many large corporates and conglomerates have joined to regularly look at our startups for potential solution adoptions. Then we have also a 100+ investors network that help connect our startups to investors of different risk appetites. And we also have a lot of tech giants joining our technology network, hopefully to help introduce the latest and greatest technology to our startup so that they can bring the product to market as soon as possible and to test their business model. And last but not the least, the latest of our network is the professional service network, where we help startups on their growth journey, especially when they are planning for IPO, merger and acquisitions, all sort of stuff, as well as a lending support in various different geographic areas. And then it is always our intention, any startup to aspire to become a unicorn. Hong Kong is a small market that they can prove their business model, but then they need a much bigger market, for them to get really the business and the scaling effect. So we have brought many of our startups from Hong Kong to many other places. And as Stephen mentioned, the Great Bay Area of China, including Hong Kong, Macau, and 9 Guangdong cities, actually provides a 10 times population market, for many people, or for many startups in Hong Kong for expansion plan. Okay, so before I finish, I would like to just complete by saying that we have a strong program also on providing. Yeah, we can go a little bit to the backup slide. One more, please. Yeah, so we actually help many of our talents and startups to go to GBA and from GBA, and we have been doing it leveraging this the talent admission scheme that Stephen mentioned, and we also provide a lot of job opportunities and internship in our Cyberport startup community. One more, please. And then we have established a Cyberport Academy, basically consolidating all the talent cultivation and training program that we provide. Apart from program that targeted to startups, we also have programs for in-service practitioners, like fintech training for banks, professionals, insurance companies, and others. Hopefully, we can actually help people embrace good technology, for solution adoptions. So, and then we obviously provide a lot of Cyberport career initiatives and providing a lot of job opportunities, and that is also our effort into kind of cross fertilize talents in Hong Kong and from the rest of the world. And with that, I finish here, and I wish all of you a great seminar today, and enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you so much. And sorry about the hiccup at the beginning.
All good, Eric, no worries. So let's get started with our panel. Thank you for the great presentation and give us an overview, all the work that Cyberport been doing. Now I'm actually going to go into our panel discussion. So I'm going to go right into it. As someone, I'm originally born and raised in Hong Kong. I'm super proud of the fact that Hong Kong has so many amazing tech talents, and definitely, we started, 10 years ago, there's basically no unicorn to now to over 10 unicorns, which means it value in $1 billion in terms of valuation. Today we have Air Wallace, Pronetics, and Imoca, Amber Group, FTX, GoGoX, Cloak, Lalamu, Poison, and then also WeLab. Despite all these crazy past few years, from social unrest to COVID, I think founders in Hong Kong are super resilient, that we're all staying strong and going full force. According to Crunchbase, over 105 Hong Kong companies have raised more than $3.7 billion in 2021. And I think we will remain #1 in terms of startup city in Asia, of course, outside China. I'm going to go right into it and actually start with the funding environment. I'm very excited to join by some amazing, awesome speakers. The first question I'm going to start with is, what do you guys think in terms of the current funding environment in Hong Kong? Maybe we can start with Cindy, because Cindy, Alibaba Entrepreneur Fund's been super active. And congrats to GoGoX and Pernetics for all the IPO that's happening this year. And Cindy, love to learn more about like how you see the funding environment in Hong Kong currently and how it's been improved.
Right. Thanks, Edith, and thanks for having me today. I'm so glad to be here to join the other panelists for the discussion. To answer your question, Edith, maybe I can share my own, story about the Alibaba Entrepreneurs Fund journey. So this fund was set up in 2015 by Alibaba Group. We pledged $130 million US to set up this fund. It's more like a CSR project, even though we run it very commercially. So we invested into startups with the Hong Kong nexus. That means the companies can be either based in Hong Kong or started by a majority of founders from Hong Kong. So far, we have invested into over 50 companies with our fund. As you mentioned, there are a couple of unicorns on our portfolio, like GoGoX, WeLab, Animoca, Air Wallace, and a few to name as well. And when we first started the fund back in 2015, it was quite different from what we see nowadays, because we were trying to look for a VC firm to help us to manage this fund. And we were not able to find anyone in Hong Kong because, even they have office in Hong Kong, the professionals would just go over the border to look for deals on Monday and come back on Friday. So basically, there are not that many investors nor deals in Hong Kong at that time. But now we see, it is totally different. And according to KPMG, the research analysis, the funding from private and public sector back in 2014 is about around 440 or 460 million Hong Kong dollars. And by 2020, last year, it's already gone almost 20 times for the public funding to go from 440 million to 8 billion, and for the private sector from 460 million to 10 billion. So you can see, not the amount of funding has grown so much. And of course, as you mentioned, there are lots of, startups that have been doing very well. And I guess with the, increasing amount of investor interested in supporting startups, it helps them to grow and also really to develop themselves before they go to IPO or to do a merger and acquisition. So I do see, a lot of activities coming here in Hong Kong. And of course, as Eric mentioned, the Greater Bay Area initiative that the central government is initiating is also, fueling the already very active startup ecosystem here. So maybe I will pause here and let the other panelists to share their views on this area.
Yeah, so Douglas, Stanley, and Ken, coming from the founder, from the startup point of view, love to hear your thoughts on that. How's your experience?
Sure. I really like starting companies in Hong Kong. I've started 6 of them, raised cumulatively over 100 million US for them, about half from Hong Kong and the rest from around the world. I found that international investors are very comfortable investing in Hong Kong companies because of the transparency, the rule of law, the low tax rate. It's a magnet for money. And I've also found it very easy to attract great talent. My first company in Hong Kong was a digital film studio that had the distinction of releasing the first Asian-made movie ever to open up #1 in the US. There, 400 local employees were animating the picture because these were people who grew up in an environment where they could speak to Western culture and to Asian culture. And I found Hong Kong to be about the most international environment culturally in the world. So regardless of where your business is focusing, you can find the talent that knows how to speak to your market and your other constituents. And with five tech companies, which have been located in Cyberport and in a center, and Hong Kong Science Park, I found it very easy to attract international talent because Hong Kong is about the most welcoming place you can find, and in a lifestyle that almost nobody would not say yes to. And so I'll stop here because I'm drifting away from talking about raising money. But when you raise money, you have to spend it wisely. And in Hong Kong, it's quite easy to spend it wisely because the talent is so good.
And I can share a little bit about from the Cyberport incubation program point of view, because of Hong Kong Economic Trade Office has saw that I have done some work in cybersecurity. So they have extended the invitation to me from the Silicon Valley to Hong Kong. And then so I was looking into the various grant money and funding perspective, and then looking at a startup in Hong Kong to tap into the Asia Pacific market and of course the GBA market. So within my cybersecurity company, what we did is we started another company. I called it a retro startup, in leveraging our experience and started at Cyberport. So within the Cyberport incubation programs that we were very effectively able to get the funding to start even as a one-man band and starting up that office in Cyberport, and then continue to grow in that perspective and able to attract some angel investors invested into our company as well. So that was the way we started in the Cyberport incubation program, and we are almost done. And at the same time, they're going into the talent side of things. And of course that I was working in the United States most of the time, so I didn't know what to do. So throughout this Cyberport programs, the various programs, I was connected to university, and a couple of them was very grateful that we had done a 1.5 years of work. One of them is Hong Kong University's Light Lab, and which they focus on the law aspect of things, and which ties into what we're doing as a RegTech. So they were able to help to work with us to bring us the local students and also some of the foreign talents that we were working together for the Hong Kong law perspective in terms of the cybersecurity. And so it was very effective and helped us to prepare our patent. So and in that regards, and actually in the student draft for us, the patent, and then we submitted into our patent lawyers, and they thought it was done by a professional company. But in fact, it was done by the Hong Kong U Light Lab students. So that was one of them. And the other one is we were looking at the integration engineering. So we partner up with University of Science and Technology. And again, utilizing the internship program, we're able to find the talent to help us to develop the database using blockchain technology. So these are the examples that from my perspective was very helpful. Despite the whole COVID situations, we didn't actually stop much in terms of our development, and utilizing the Cyberport's incubation fund, we're able to get us started.
So I guess we actually touch on not only on funding, but also talent as well. So Ken, on your side, why don't you actually address both then on the funding experience and also in terms of hiring in Hong Kong?
Yeah, so I started 2 companies. So for the first company is about 13 years ago. And at that time, I think the only support is Cyberport and also Science Park. But now I started my second company 3 years ago. There are lots of great incubation program in Hong Kong. And I would also recommend the InvestHK, which is started by Edith, which is a very good program as well. So that really helps you getting started. In terms of hiring talents, I think if you're looking for junior talents, it is still easy to find. But if you're looking for a senior talent, it's actually getting more and more difficult in Hong Kong. So you need to get really creative in terms of you're looking for good people. But on the other hand, I think Hong Kong has a group of people that have talent in working with, say, people in China and people in Taipei or people in Southeast Asia. So, for example, in our team, the way that we structure is, we have people in Hong Kong, but then we have director or manager in Hong Kong managing the teams in Taiwan and China as well. So that would make kind of like your team more scalable that way.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess because all our founders actually have a lot of experience in both fundraising and then hiring. I do want to kind of insert a quick comment, Hong Kong particular on the funding side. Now we have Cindy, who's super active investing in Hong Kong startups. But what I do find that in terms of early stage, Hong Kong is definitely no short of investment dollar, but a lot of the more traditional investor may or may not understand startups. So we definitely want to not only promote on the founder, on entrepreneurial and our talent, but also we need funds like similar to Cindy to more actively invest in Hong Kong startups. So I'm sure like in our audience, there are tons of awesome investors as well. Hanson Robotics, Securely, and the Power Arena, awesome companies. You should definitely check them out. All right, we talked about
one more thing that I think the audience here, they're not all founders. Some are like people looking for job opportunities in Hong Kong. Well, in that case, welcome. I think there are like many opportunities here. As I mentioned earlier, it's very difficult to hire senior people. So yeah, do come and work in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and I would like to add one more point on top of that. And while before I started Securely in Hong Kong, I was working in Hong Kong and Thailand as well. So I have another office in Thailand throughout the years in Hong Kong. So what I did is actually I brought in US consultants that they might changing job, they might be retiring from the previous job, but they still have the energy to do some of the work in Hong Kong for a period of time. As a matter of fact, that I brought in one of the ex-CIO that he was very talented and helped with in Hong Kong and did a one-year project to help one of the company that is very established company in Hong Kong in terms of the cybersecurity, because I couldn't find any talent at that point. That was about a few years ago. So these are the examples and why I keep on recommending people to come to Hong Kong, because it's a great, fantastic city just for even a short period of time to experience it before they make up their mind.
And then Cindy, you have a comment.
Well, yeah, I just want to echo with Ken's comment about, the difficulty of hiring more senior, especially technical talents in Hong Kong. So a lot of our startups, they have to resort to using engineers in like Shenzhen or Taiwan. So I guess if any technical people here in the audience, you may, really consider looking for opportunities here in Hong Kong, because there are a lot of demand in terms of more technical engineers and technical persons.
Awesome.
Yeah, just a data point here. In the last 5 years, Hanson Robotics has brought in people from a dozen different countries as robotics engineers, as electrical engineers, programmers. And during the recruiting process, we bring people in, show them around Hong Kong. We never had one person decline after we showed them the lifestyle, the safety of the city, the quality of the schools, the outdoor sports. Yeah. It shocked people to find out that Hong Kong is the greenest big city in the world, with more hiking trails and more parks, and as a percentage of its total area than anywhere else. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have a house in a country park, and that's 10 minutes away from the dense urban center. And you simply can't find that anywhere else in the world.
So Douglas, I hold you to it. You will invite all of us to come to your house for parties when we can go back to Hong Kong. All right.
Well,
you
as long
gotta
as you
take a
promise to
hiking
leave
trip.
after a few days, certainly.
Very good. So let's move on the exit side of things. So Hong Kong Stock Exchange is now the #2 most vibrant public market in the world. And in the particularly last couple of years, Kuaishou, Tencent Health, there's a lot of really amazing companies actually gone public in Hong Kong. So what is the whole exit and IPO environment now? There's a lot of turmoil going on, particularly with IPO for Chinese company in US. So in some sense, it's actually a good thing for Hong Kong, right? But I'd love to hear what you guys think in terms of exits.
Or maybe I can start first. We are very fortunate that we have 3 companies going exit or doing IPO in one way or another. So GoGoX, as Eric and also Edith just mentioned, they have filed a IPO in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, which is of course, one of the most active stock markets in the world. According to PwC, they estimate that the total fundraising for 2021 will reach Hong Kong dollars 500 billion this year, making it like the 3rd top IPO market in the world. So Hong Kong has always been a key financial market. There are a lot of financial experts that can help our startups to do the exit of M&A, be it IPO or M&A, or more recently, more popular, doing a SPAC in US or Singapore, right? So I guess this all help the startups to make good decisions on how they should tap into the public market for funding. And of course, the stock exchange is also trying to come up with new policies to make it more friendly for different types of startups. Say, for example, biotech companies, even they have their pre-revenue, they will also have a channel to do a public listing in Hong Kong. And of course, 2 weeks ago, they have also come up with a consultation paper to try to introduce SPAC to Hong Kong as well. So I do see there are more avenues for startups to go to public to do the liquidity. And yeah, and I am seeing that Hong Kong is becoming more and more important as we have more startups here. We often advise our startups that when you choose the place for your IPO, it is wise to choose a place close to your markets, because investors there will know your product. Say, for example, GoGoX. I mean, we will be using GoGoX like for every other day. So even there is any change in the market conditions or the policies, I mean, investors will have much more confidence with your business, even during all these changes, because they are seeing, the vans on the streets and service being delivered. So yeah, so as I see the ecosystem getting more active, I'm sure that the stock exchange will be really helpful, and vice versa.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy. Give us the update on the IPO and exit side. I have a final question for our panelists, and then I'm going to open up for Q&A and select some of the questions that we have from the audience, which have so many. Everybody, please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and I'm going to try my best to address as many of them as possible. So final question, particular for our founders and CEOs who are here. How about go-to-market? Hong Kong, everybody, always start with, this is such a small market. And but what is your path, and what do you see in terms of path? Either is China market, is it interesting? What's been your focus, or versus going to Southeast Asia or going to the US? Love to learn about sort of the path in terms of go to market for you guys.
Yeah,
I can start.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah,
okay, let me start. Actually, I'm touch on the cross border data regulations. And that ties into the Greater Bay Area and the China strategy. Because now a lot of countries looking at the data sovereignty issues. So for a lot of companies, when they have to dealing with whatever type of data, we're dealing with the metadata and the networking side, that we started actually looking at the cross-border data regulations first. And then going back into your question is Hong Kong, we look at as a model city that we can work with the cross-border data regulations using our technology, the blockchain data lake. And then looking at that, and then we can actually looking at the franchising model that we can duplicate the similar type of platform to other cities, whether it's going to be a city, a province, or in the United States, the different states, and then the city provincial areas, and then of course the federal. So the way that we're looking at it from the regulatory perspective, it would be great to start in Hong Kong as a model city, and then duplicating the similar type of model in the franchise model to other places in the world.
Yeah, I think if you're focusing on Southeast Asia, so maybe more debatable that Singapore is also a very good place to start. But then if you're looking for China and also Southeast Asia, then Hong Kong, I think it's still the only place. And it's very difficult for foreign company to directly go to the US. And even for us, when we launched our branch in China, we got a lot of speed up on the process because we're a Hong Kong-based company. And also depending on the areas that you are in, we are doing industry 4.0 technologies, and we're working with factories, right? So Hong Kong is just very close to Shenzhen, which is another manufacturing hub, and that's another reason that Hong Kong is a great place to start.
Yeah, you probably couldn't find a better place in the world to get access to the world's largest markets. There's no friction with Hong Kong companies selling anywhere in the Americas and Europe. Plus, Hong Kong has privileged access to the mainland China market, which you all know the metrics of that market. And I guess as has been brought out, because Hong Kong is part of the Greater Bay Area, it means that we've got access to the most sophisticated technology supply chain in the world and the greatest factory infrastructure. And because of Hong Kong's logistics, either bringing it out from mainland China to the world, or bringing IP from Hong Kong into mainland China. Both are extremely easy, and there's an excellent body of law and great companies that help you facilitate it.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for your input on the growth and go-to-market side of things. Now I'm going to go through super rapid fire because we have so many questions from our audience. We're going to start with the first question. How does COVID-19 impact your business and in future growth? Maybe just one panelist, and then we can go through many questions. COVID, how does it impact you? Anyone?
Like I mentioned earlier, it really depends on how your team is structured. So in our case, we have a team in different countries. We kind of connect virtually. So COVID doesn't affect us at all. And also depending on your market, I think in certain market, COVID actually helps you. Like for example, again, we are doing the industry 4.0 stuff, and now they're moving factories, not only in China, but also in other Southeast Asia places. And they need to understand what's going on in all the different factories in Southeast Asia. So that actually helps us. So it really depends on your sector.
Got it. All right, let's move on to the next question. It seems like it's fairly simple because there's so many support programs from Cyberport and other agency on the seed funding, but it seems like there's a gap for raising Series A. How can government and private sector help in terms of Series A? So after seed, in terms of funding, what do you guys think? And what's your experience been like?
I can share my latest experience. This morning, I got a call with Plug and Play, not from Hong Kong, not from China, but from Spain. They were interested into our technology, and so they tap into us. So even though we started and focusing in Hong Kong, but Plug and Play were able to pick us up and then starting this conversation. It was just this morning.
Awesome, cool, great to hear. Next thing is also related to talent. We have a question from Drew that talks about what resources are available for local startups to bring in more senior technical folks in terms of immigration and visas and whatnot, and how difficult is the process? It sounds like some of you have done it before. Maybe you can share some experience from your end when you import talent.
Yeah, the experience has all been good. I think I mentioned that at Hanson Robotics, we brought in people from a dozen different countries. Immigration made the process as easy as possible, and particularly for the more highly skilled professions and the more highly skilled individuals and the highly credentialed individuals, it was extremely fast and extremely easy.
Yeah, I want to add that Hong Kong is still one of the most efficient government in the world. Everything is fast.
Agree.
Cool. We still have a few more minutes, and then I'm going to go to your final thoughts. There's a lot of questions in the chat that talks about sort of pre-revenue startup. If we want to set up a Hong Kong office, what are the first steps? That's what Invest Hong Kong are here for. If you guys have any questions, please go and contact Invest Hong Kong. They definitely have all the answers for you in terms of setting up shops in Hong Kong. Now I actually want to, and apologize, we won't be able to address all your questions because there's just so many, but I really want to take the time, since there's a lot of interest in terms of setting up shops and hiring and talent and all that. I really wanted to learn more about like your final thoughts, particularly in the area of funding. And I'd love to actually have Cindy to start, especially congrats on the Jumpstarter for 2022, which you are planning already. That's been actually bringing a lot of international companies to come to Hong Kong and compete in this contest. Cindy, love to hear your final thoughts, and especially in the Jumpstarter latest update.
Yeah, so Jumpstarter was started in 2017. That was the first year that we have this pitch competition. And eventually, for the first year, it was focused only for startups in Hong Kong. But we have extended it to a global pitch competition. So Jumpstarter 2022 would be the 5th year that we host this global pitch competition. And in terms of like the sectors or the verticals that we are trying to invite startups to join, include more traditional ones like fintech, smart city, AI, robotics. But we have also added 2 new verticals this year. One is art tech, and the other is ESG or sustainability. These initiatives really advocated by the Hong Kong government as well as the central government. As we, first of all, Hong Kong has been positioned as the center for cultural exchange by the central government in the 14th Five-Year Plan. And also sustainability, everybody's talking about that. Hong Kong, we are aiming at by 2050, we have the carbon emission neutral, and a lot of companies, corporates are really concerned or take note of how they can do better in ESG. So we think that these are new opportunities, and Hong Kong can really be in the position to grab some new ideas and really to expand in the region.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy, for your latest update on that. I look forward to next year, Jumpstarter. Douglas, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to come back to a question that you'd raised earlier, Edith. It was about funding. And certainly in Hong Kong, there's a very active angel community. Thai has a very active chapter. It's quite straightforward to get yourself in front of experienced and very supportive angel investors. There is a gap that Hong Kong could do well to fill for the earlier stage funds, the Series A money. And I believe that's something it's going to happen, because now that we have so many unicorns coming out of Hong Kong, it's going to be clear that we've got LPs who are going to be interested in sponsoring more of them. And this is something I'd encourage Invest Hong Kong to help with as well, because if we could get a very active group of Series A investors operating in Hong Kong, it would remove what I think is maybe the last of the barriers that we have to wrestle with as we're building companies.
Yeah, completely agree. We need a much even stronger investor community. Stanley, final thoughts?
I'm not going to talk about the funding side because I need it. So I'm going to talk about something, but don't get distracted when you live in Hong Kong for the talents that who want to go into Hong Kong, because it's very easily to get distracted. Hong Kong is a very vibrant city. And even though I was born in Hong Kong, but travel back and forth to do business. And I think one of the things that it keep on attracting me is the energy within the city. And also I have friends like Doug that had worked in Hong Kong for many, many years and didn't want to go home. So their parents were worried about, well, how come you're not coming home, because they're having such a good time. Although in Hong Kong is a very stressful when you are there working in the location. It's like a pressure cooker, or what I call it, Manhattan on steroids, that is so fast paced. But at the same time, it is you have so many different areas that you can visit. And I travel just over the weekend just to go visit Japan and things like that. So it's very easily get distracted. So stay focused and enjoy the work for the talents that will plan to stay in Hong Kong. But just make sure that you're going to have to stay focused on to work, because it's very easy to get distracted with all the stuff is going on in Hong Kong.
Well, last but not least, and Ken, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I want to address the question on how to get started, right? If you come to Hong Kong. So InvestHK, like Edith mentioned earlier, is a great place to start. And then I highly recommend people to join either Science Park or Cyberport. You will find a lot of founders like you, and it's a great place to get support and get connected. And also there are lots of accelerator programs, and check out the programs from Cindy and also Edith. They're great, and there are also a lot of accelerator programs in Hong Kong now, and they can help you.
Yeah, so with that said, thank you for the free advertising. Thank you, Ken. I'm going to actually quickly invite everyone to join our Founders Hong Kong Demo Day that is happening on October 5th, Hong Kong time, 9 a.m., which is Pacific time, 6 p.m. on October 4th. The Eventbrite sign up link is right there. I'd love to welcome all of you guys to check out our 11 amazing startup in the very first accelerator cohort, including Ken, who will be presenting on October 5th. But I do want to apologize, not able to have enough time to cover all the questions. Please email, and there's an email that is actually on our chat app right now, the liveworkhongkong@investhongkong.gov.hk. If you have any question related to funding, talents, the Hong Kong team is right here for you. And thank you, Lawrence, and of course, Jekyll, Philip, Eric for speaking earlier. And then last but not least, I wanted to the fact that on the slideshow right now, please scan the QR code or go to the website to fill out the surveys to give us feedback. And feel free to email Lawrence if you have any question. He's the best. All right. With that said, Jekyll, do you have any final remarks?
No, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you so much, Edith, Stanley, Douglas, Ken, and Cindy. You guys have been amazing. Thank you, Invest Hong Kong, for co-hosting this webinar with us. There are indeed so many questions and interest, and our office, Lawrence from Invest Hong Kong at our office will contact you after the webinar to follow up if you have expressed interest for your company to come to Hong Kong, or if you're interested or have more questions about Hong Kong. Also feel free to email the Invest Hong Kong email address as well. So thank you, everybody. You've been great, and have a great day and a great evening if you're on the West Coast. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.